If George Patton had arrived just 4 hours later, this story would not exist. The men of the 101st Airborne would not have been captured. They would not have surrendered. They would have been wiped out. December 1944. Europe was frozen, and in a small Belgian town called Bastogne, 10,000 American soldiers were running out of time, surrounded, outnumbered, outgunned. German tanks were closing in from every direction. Hitler himself had ordered Bastogne destroyed. No air support, no reinforcements, no escape. And for 4 long days, the most powerful alliance in history could do nothing, except wait. December 19, 1944, at Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, the Situation Room was silent. German forces had smashed through American lines in the Ardennes forest, creating chaos across a 50-mile front. But one red circle on the map drew every eye. Bastogne, a town few people had heard of a week earlier, now the most important crossroads in Europe. Inside it were the screaming eagles of the 101st Airborne, along with fragments of other units. More than 10,000 American soldiers, completely surrounded. German forces outnumbered them nearly 3-1. The weather made everything worse. Snow, fog, ice. Allied aircraft were grounded. No airdrops, no close air support, no lifeline. Eisenhower stood over the map, exhausted. He had barely slept since the German offensive began. Each intelligence briefing was worse than the last. Ammunition rationed to 10 rounds per rifle, artillery shells nearly gone, medical supplies exhausted, wounded men lay in freezing cellars because there was nowhere else to put them. Finally, Eisenhower asked the question no one wanted to answer. How long can they hold? The intelligence officer hesitated. Sir, 4 to 5 days. Perhaps a week if they're lucky. After that, they'll be overrun. Losing an entire airborne division would be catastrophic, but worse than the military loss would be the psychological blow. These were America's elite, the men of Normandy, the men of Market Garden. If Bastogne fell, annihilated, the impact would echo across the entire Allied front. Eisenhower looked again at the map. There must be someone who can reach them. There was only one army in position, 3rd Army, 100 miles to the south, which meant only one man, Patton. Eisenhower had spent years managing George Patton's brilliance and his disasters. Patton was aggressive, unpredictable, arrogant. There were moments Eisenhower wanted him gone, but staring at 10,000 trapped Americans, Eisenhower realized something deeply uncomfortable. Patton might be the only general alive, capable of doing the impossible. Get me Patton, Eisenhower ordered. Tell him to come to Verdun. Emergency conference. After the room emptied, Eisenhower stood alone. His aide later recorded what he whispered. George, for once in this war, do exactly what I need you to do. December 19th, Verdun. The atmosphere in the room was tense enough to break glass. Eisenhower spoke plainly. The present situation is to be regarded as one of opportunity, not disaster. No one believed it. Then he asked the question, how quickly can we mount a relief operation to Bastogne? Most generals began calculating. Supplies, weather, reality. Then Patton spoke. I can attack on the 22nd with 3 divisions. Silence. To disengage an army, pivot it 90 degrees, march through a blizzard, and attack in 72 hours had never been done. Eisenhower fixed his eyes on Patton. George, I'm not asking for optimism. I'm asking what you can actually do. He leaned forward. If you say you'll be there, and you're not, they die. Can you attack on December 22nd? Patton did not hesitate. Ike, I already have 3 plans prepared. On the 22nd, 4th Armored attacks north. This isn't a promise. It's a fact. From December 20th to Christmas Day, Eisenhower endured the most stressful week of his command. Reports from Bastogne grew darker by the hour. German artillery hammered American positions. Casualties mounted, yet the 101st held. When the Germans demanded surrender, General McAuliffe replied with a single word, Nuts. Eisenhower allowed himself a brief smile. At least their spirit isn't broken. But privately, he wrote, I gave George the green light because I had no choice. Now I'm watching the clock and praying. December 22nd. Patton attacked as promised. Progress was slow. Winter conditions. Determined German resistance. Inside Bastogne. Ammunition fell to 5 rounds per rifle. Medical supplies were gone. Wounded men died waiting. Eisenhower sent a message. Hold at all costs. Relief is coming. But in his diary, he confessed, if George doesn't break through, their blood is on my hands. Christmas Eve. Eisenhower sat alone in his office. Maps on the wall. Silence in the halls. He began writing condolence letters. Just in case. Letters to families of the 101st Airborne. Letters he prayed he would never send. Late that night, he looked up and said quietly, I hope I don't have to send these. December 26, 1944. Patton's tanks fought through snow-choked roads and German defenses. Every mile cost lives. Every minute mattered. At 4:50 in the afternoon, the phone rang. Eisenhower's aide answered, then turned pale. Sir, it's General Patton. Eisenhower took the receiver. Ike, we're through. 4th Armored made contact at 1650. The corridor's open. Bastogne is relieved. For several seconds, Eisenhower couldn't speak. Say that again, George. We're through. The screaming eagles are safe. Eisenhower's voice broke. George, thank God. You did it. Patton replied gruffly. They did the hard part. We just knocked on the door. After the call, Eisenhower turned to his staff. His eyes were wet. Gentlemen, General Patton has just saved 10,000 American soldiers who were hours, perhaps minutes, from annihilation. He paused. 4 hours, that's all he had. Eisenhower would later write, Bastogne answered every doubt I ever had about George Patton. Difficult, controversial, flawed. But when everything was on the line, he delivered. That phone call, we're through to Bastogne, remained in Eisenhower's words. The most important 4 words I heard during the entire war. History is shaped not only by battles, but by decisions made under unbearable pressure, and by people who refuse to accept defeat. If this story of impossible odds moved you, subscribe to this channel. We bring you the untold moments, the private words, and the human drama behind history's greatest wars. Leave a comment. Would you have trusted Patton? And remember, sometimes the most difficult people achieve the most extraordinary miracles.